Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the DKS part number DY-5 stud Dynabolt anchor. This is known by a lot of names. I think stud anchor, I wouldn't call it a stud anchor. I'd call it a sleeve anchor. A stud anchor is a sleeve anchor with a hex head on it, would be what I would call it. Dynabolt, I think, is a trademark name by ITW, perhaps. Some major manufacturer of fasteners has a term Dynabolt. If you say Dynabolt, people know what you mean. It's a bolt that will, when the head is tightened, regardless of the head, it will expand. Well, we would know these as sleeve anchors because that's what this is called. As you tighten the head, it draws this wedge feature into the sleeve, and the sleeve, as you can see, with these lines and these slots cut in there, will expand out. A very common way to anchor frames. This is a 5-inch length. Typical sizes that we would stock would certainly be 4-inch, 5-inch, and 6-inch. 2-inch can be done. 3-inch can be done. Longer can be done. We've welded these pieces together and made 9-inch, 12-inch. We've done crazy things like that because of what you have to do to get the expanding part to where you can actually bite into something or at least seat into something solid. The Dynabolt stud anchor, sleeve anchor, the sleeve anchor, is, in my opinion, a poorer way to do it. It happens to be the most common way in a existing opening preparation. And the reason that I say that is because the concept of a sleeve anchor requires something quite dense, non-porous to go into. So a very common installation is going to be extracting a frame out of a wall, coming in with a new frame, sliding it into place after you've marked and drilled the holes so that you can sneak the sleeve anchor into. The problem with that is it might be CMU, cinder block, incredibly porous, full of voids. What sometimes people will do is specifically elect a shorter bolt, like a 4-inch, because you're going to go through 2 5/8 worth of the frame, right? And then you'll have 1 3/8 sticking out. A 5-inch bolt is going to go right through the wall portion into the void. So what I'm attempting to illustrate here is bear with me one moment. Okay, so that sort of application where you've got a 2-inch face, a 5/8 stop, you've got 2 5/8 total. Well, when you run that bolt through the hole, you're going to hit a void is what you're going to do. So sometimes people will go with that shorter anchor to hit a spot, or I don't really know how cinder block actually looks, but it's something like that. So, or you could have it cut on the end, and now you've got a void. There's nothing to drill into. So sleeve anchors are really like, okay, let's make this somebody else's problem if the wall's not been properly constructed to accept the sleeve anchor. So what can be done? If you're doing a new wall, a new installation, and you're using cinder block, cement block, pack that full of mortar in that area so that when you drill through it, you're hitting concrete, and make sure you order the proper length, because you're very typically going to be dealing with this sort of dimension, 2 5/8. If you've had to saw cut a hole in the wall, people will, the installers will take a trowel and they will fill those voids in with mortar so that you have something to drill to. other types of masonry construction, the bottom line is, provided that you have something solid to secure to, you're in good shape. But the problem with the sleeve anchor is not the design of the sleeve anchor as much as what are you attaching it to. That's very likely going to be insufficient for a firm anchoring. However, if you have a firm anchoring point, solid mortar, brick, the sleeve anchor is going to work. And in fact, you don't want to get it prematurely started in the hole. You want it to be seated before you start tightening, because it will give you a solid installation for what it's worth. Standard quantity per side, 3 is what a lot of manufacturers would talk about. 4, as far as I'm concerned, is the way to go for 6/8, 7/0, even 8/0. The reason is 3 is good to keep it secure. 4 is in case you blow one of them, you miss one. If it's a especially heavy or wide installation, I'll request that we put 2 in the header as well. And in addition to that, we'll take the floor anchors, reverse them so they shoot into the opening, secure the frame with a Hilti gun, or some sort of a powder actuated tool, or a Tapcon, then put your threshold over it. But when you're bolting a frame to a wall, you've got to really think, what am I bolting to? So the sleeve anchor isn't a bad design in terms of being a sleeve anchor. You just have to make sure you get it attached securely. There are a lot of different ways to install a frame to existing openings, and I have engaged in lots of them. I've placed I've placed a frame in the opening, shimmed it so that it was plumb, square, level, and true. I have taken 1x1 steel angle, and I have welded that to the face of the frame. I've then anchored it through the angle. I have done instances where straps have been run along the wall and then it's been bolted through the wall. If it's a channel iron frame, we welded directly to that channel iron frame. Nothing beats having the mason there with the frame and the anchors at the same time. As the courses of brick block are being laid, that frame is in place, it's being brought up, you are troweling the throat of the frame, you are laying your T-anchor between the courses, 3 or 4 T-anchors per side, and nothing will beat that installation. Pure and simple. This is an absolute afterthought. The reason people do it is because of the mason is a lot more expensive to have him do it the proper way than to do something like this. I just simply find that it's not necessarily inexpensive to hand your installer a pallet of knockdown frames that have dimples countersunk 4 per jam and a box of sleeve anchors and say, have at it. If the walls are not sufficiently prepared to receive bolts, you're going to have a problem. And that installer is probably going to be well off the job and paid by that time. So put into your mind in terms of what might be the best way to proceed with anchoring it. There is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the DKS products that we sell, that's number 3 Phillips, by the way, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. They have a whole catalog on just parts alone, and they do a great job with supplying just piece parts. Fillers, welding reinforcements, adapter plates, things of that nature. DKS also has a Florida-listed, hurricane-rated assembly that can be done here in southern Florida. I've done that with their product in the past. They generally have the material in stock. They are an importer from Asia, from China. If they don't have it in a huge amount, they're really out, and then they're waiting a long lead time because they'll bring over a container load of a particular line item, and they do hundreds of thousands of doors a year, that's to be sure. Good quality people. A couple of people there definitely know what they're talking about. I have found them to be mostly accommodating. I have also found them to be unwilling to consider a new concept of a way to do something that would suit what my requirements were for my client. But all in all, they're basically a wholesaler of hollow metal doors with manufacturing overseas. I don't know if they're doing any frame bending there, if they're shearing and putting steel through a press brake. but overall they're above average is the bottom line. If you have any questions on the DKS DY-5 stud Dynabolt anchor or any other DKS product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.